Ladies and gentlemen, I am SidAlpha. Board game adaptations to video games have a long, time-honored tradition of being low-quality, low-effort productions with broken AI that usually runs between one of two extremes. The first being completely and utterly inept, and the other being ridiculously overpowered. However, in the past, they've allowed people to be able to play with each other without having to be in the same room. Now we have games like Tabletop Simulator, which eliminates the need for most board games to be converted to video game experiences. This doesn't change the fact that some games are good enough to not only warrant a video game version, but to actually end up becoming a decent single-player experience in the process. So, taking that into account, let's take a look at Super Dungeon Tactics. Now, Super Dungeon Tactics is a turn-based strategy RPG adapted from the board game Super Dungeon Explorer that was released back in 2011. Now, the board game itself was inspired by old-style JRPGs, and the video game based on the board game based on the video game, try and say that one 5 times fast, holds true to their JRPG roots via the campaign here in Super Dungeon Tactics. Now, in the campaign, you start off with a pair of adventurers that are delighted in hunting down and subsequently beating the crap out of a bunch of foul-smelling kobolds. And usually I would interject my review with clips to help accentuate my points, but as the dialogue segments and the gameplay don't include voiceover components, they don't really make for good independent viewing, so I'll be simply overlaying them, showing the introductory segment as you're seeing here now. So right away you'll notice that the developers decided to use chibis for their hero characterizations, and this is actually, again, a holdover from the board game, and one that I found to be mildly adorable. The characters, whom you must name each one yourself, so I'll have to refer to them by their character classes here, all have a lighthearted and somewhat cheeky manner about them, and somehow, even despite my own healthy amount of ingrained cynicism, I actually did find the characterizations in this game to be fairly charming. But the game revolves around your group of adventurers that happen upon a small town out in the woods that is apparently protected from magical detection, and this village is, up until recently, a very peaceful place where the inhabitants never had a care in the world. However, the adventurers end up defending them from a kobold attack, and based on the town's now vulnerable nature, they decided to gift the adventurers with an abandoned granary to be used as an adventurers' guild. Now, as your guild draws adventurers to the town, you embark on a series of quests to fight back the horde of kobolds and undead that plague the town and its surrounding areas. Now, in this, you find out about a deeper plot involving the town that I won't really go into here, but what I will go into is the combat, real quick. So, the vast majority of the game is, of course, the combat. And as I said, it is, at its core, your stereotypical turn-based strategy system. Each separate character has different styles and ranges or attacks based on their character classes and the weapons they equipped with. Now, in addition to those, your character's weapons provide them with special secondary attacks that can be available with the correct power-up. Now, those are determined by die rolls that are made at the beginning of every round and are assigned to the individual based upon your preference on who receives which buff or debuff. Now, this system does introduce a fair amount of RNG into the game, but with your character's weapons, base attacks, and items, that random factor is mitigated somewhat. However, I did note several missions where I ended up getting debuff dice on my characters way too often, and which ended up forcing me to restart because I just ended up getting smacked around or constantly taking bleed damage that did the job for my enemies without them even having to be anywhere near me. However, the one thing the RNG does force you to do is really, it does make you stop and consider your path moving through the combat. Now, this game did what many other games of this type haven't been able to do in recent history, and that is, it actually forced me to consider my actions as opposed to simply bullying my way through, which typically I can do fairly easily through most games of this type. Now, the way the combat system is designed here makes this game much more than the rock, paper, scissors system that you see in so many other games of this style. Now, here you won't find a character type immune to ice, weak to fire, or of any kind, and it is definitely much more involved and far less lazy than those type of systems. However, the game isn't entirely without its faults. Now, firstly, the game has a text-only story, first off. While the chibi characters are adorable, some actual voice acting would make the game so much more impressive, and as with any game that sports any form of story whatsoever, the lack of voice acting or animations is always noticeable, and including those would have been a very welcome addition, and would have helped with overall immersion immensely. Also, the game system was not entirely optimized well. There's no clear way to categorize weapons, armor, or other power-ups for your characters, and no way to discard or sell unneeded items. Now, in addition to that, the inventory pack has to have items re-added before every mission. It was an exceptional pain for me, especially in later missions where relying on your inventory is absolutely crucial. Also, while I do understand that this is an adaptation from a board game, there are some components that are distinctly missing from the video game which I had actually expected to be there. The campaign raises such a fuss over the fact that the adventurers get their own guild that one would expect some form of mechanic to upgrade the guild, or the town, or anything, really. In addition to that, there's no multiplayer or any other component outside of the base campaign, which is a real shame and could have added a huge amount of replayability to the game itself, or even the ability to design your own campaigns. Now, these flaws are fairly stereotypical for board game adaptations, and despite those lacking components, the game is still mechanically sound, entertaining, challenging, and fun. So, the final verdict for Super Dungeon Tactics is a solid 8 out of 10. As far as turn-based strategy goes, Underbite Games did a fantastic job. Is the game perfect? Hell no, but at $20, it is a fantastically well-done strategy RPG with a charm all its own, and based from this first offering from Underbite Games, I look forward to seeing what they are capable of handing out in the future. So thanks for watching, ladies and gentlemen. I know this review is a bit on the shorter side, but I normally interject, as I said, I normally interject clips and segments, and I can't really do that in a video without voiceover and things like that. It just makes it more boring. So instead of trying to artificially pad things, I did my best to just stick to what was pertinent. So again, like I said, thanks for watching. Please remember to hit those like and share buttons, and if you're new to the channel, please remember to hit that subscribe button. It really does help me out. Once again, I am SidAlpha, and I'll see you next time. Hey folks, thanks again for watching. If you're interested in some more reviews or first impressions, feel free to click on the window on the left. If you're interested in news affecting the gaming community, the link on the right will take you to that. If you're interested in staying up to date on what happens with the channel, the links to my Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit pages will be in the description down below. And if you're feeling generous and wish to help improve the quality of the channel, a link to our Patreon will be down in the description as well. It certainly isn't required, but it is appreciated. Also, please don't forget to show your support and hit those subscribe and share buttons, and thanks again for watching. I'll see you next time.